Men are just scared of me because of my wealth, Cheta told her best friend Amaka during one of their heart-to-heart conversations. They look at my wealth and assume I will never respect or submit to them. Amaka sighed. Cheta, sometimes men fear what they can't control, but don't let their insecurities dim your shine. Still, Cheta felt the pain of growing lonely. She yearned for companionship, but men often came for her wealth rather than her love. One day, she made a bold decision. She would step down from her luxurious world and live simple, just for a while, in search of genuine love. Her life was a success story in every way, except for her love life. At just 31, Cheta owned a flourishing business that imported luxury furnitures and household items. Retailers from across the country sought her goods, building her reputation as a top businesswoman in the industry. However, when it came to marriage, she could not boast of any man. In her small rented apartment, Cheta decided to act poor. She would only visit her company once in a week, leaving the day-to-day operations to her trusted assistant, Bayo. Her new neighbors knew her as a quiet, modest woman, completely unaware of her real identity. One fateful evening, Cheta was returning home from the busy market with a bag of vegetables and provisions when the handles of her bag snapped. The items spilled across the dirty roadside and she sighed in frustration. "Madam, wait, I go help you," a voice called out. She turned to see a tall man approaching. His shirts, though clean, looked old and worn out, and his slippers showed signs of heavy use. The man, Ken, bent beside her, gathering the scattered items into a small bag he purchased from a nearby vendor. "Thank you so much," Cheta said, genuinely touched. "You didn't have to." Ken shrugged. No wahala. Lagos is tough already, ma. We fit help each other small small." There was something sincere in his smile, and he was humble, and this made Cheta more attracted to him. As the weeks passed, Cheta and Ken began to cross paths more often. What started as casual greetings turned into a long conversations about life. She heard Ken was a graduate with dreams of becoming an architect, but life hadn't been kind to him. Too many jobs rejections made him to start working as a manual laborer just to make ends meet. He lived in an abandoned building nearby, a fact that made Cheta feel so sorry for him. "Ken," she said one evening as they shared roasted corn on her small balcony, "don't lose hope. Things will turn around for you. Sometimes things might be tough and it will feel like there is no light at the end of the tunnel," Ken admitted, "but your words make it a little easier. Why don't you take a chance and apply for another job?" Cheta asked one evening as they washed dishes together. Ken laughed. "Cheta, you don't understand. I have sent countless applications. No response. This time might be different," she insisted. "Just one more application. Please, do this for me." Ken sighed, unable to resist her earnest plea. "Fine, but only because you won't give up." Cheta smiled. She knew what Ken did not know. She wasn't just suggesting any job. This was her company, her business, and she was about to give him the break of his life. For the first time in years, Ken submitted his CV, unaware of the strings Cheta was quietly pulling behind the scenes. A week later, Ken got a call inviting him for an interview. He was skeptical but agreed. And when the offer came, he got a managerial position, a car, and a luxury apartment. He couldn't believe his luck. "Cheta, I got the job," he exclaimed, rushing into her apartment to share the good news. "That's amazing, Ken," she replied, genuinely happy for him. "It's all because of you. I had given up already, but you believed in me," Ken said, pulling her into a heartfelt hug. They celebrated over a simple dinner, laughing and dreaming about the future. Ken's eyes sparkled with excitement as he spoke about his plans to build a life worthy of the opportunities he had been given. Meanwhile, Cheta silently hoped he would remain the man she had grown to love, even as life turned around for him. Ken's new job as the manager of the prestigious luxury furniture company brought drastic changes to his life. On his first day, he was handed the keys to a sleek car and shown to his beautiful apartment. The transformation was overwhelming. It felt like all his suffering had finally paid off. At first, Ken was grateful. He treated Cheta with love and respect, often coming home to spend time with her. He still cooked for her occasionally, and they enjoyed simple pleasures like sitting on her balcony, dreaming about the future. "I don't know how to thank you enough, Cheta," he said one evening, holding her hand. "You've brought me so much luck. I will never forget you." Cheta smiled, her heart swelling with hope. "You deserve it, Ken. You are a good man." But as the months went by, Ken's behavior began to change. With every pay rise in his job, he became more arrogant. His wardrobe was transformed. Tailored suits, expensive shoes, and gold wristwatches now adorned the once humble man. The humility that had drawn Cheta to him started to fade. "Cheta," Ken said one evening as he returned from work, throwing his bag on the bed. "Don't you think it's time you did something useful with your life? All you do is lazy around here." Cheta blinked, stunned. "Lazy around? Ken, I am not lazy." Ken rolled his eyes. "Oh, please. You should be working as hard as I am now, not relying on me all the time." Cheta stared at him in disbelief. The man who once admired her drive and kindness was now belittling her. She bit her tongue, unwilling to reveal that the job he was flaunting had been her doing all along. "But you know that I'm searching for a job, and you know how difficult it is getting one these days," she replied. But Ken hissed and walked out on her. The next day, Ken's actions spoke louder than his words. He stopped returning Cheta's calls and started keeping late nights. One evening, Ken invited Cheta to have dinner with him in one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. Cheta, eager to repair the rift between them, wore one of her best dresses, a simple but elegant green gown that highlighted her beauty. As they sat down to eat, a waitress accidentally dropped a spoon beside Ken's table. "I'm so sorry, sir," the waitress said, quickly picking up the spoon and bowing apologetically. Ken's face darkened. "Are you blind?" he barked, standing immediately. He grabbed the waitress by her collar, tearing her uniform slightly. "Ken, stop it," Cheta shouted, rising from her seat. But Ken wasn't done. With a resounding slap, he sent the poor waitress staggering backwards. The other diners froze, watching the scene unfold. The waitress stammered tearfully apologies, but Ken stormed out of the restaurant, leaving Cheta humiliated and angry. Cheta hurriedly apologized to the waitress, apologizing sincerely. "I am so sorry for his behavior," she said, slipping some money into the waitress's hand. "Please, buy yourself a new shirt." When Cheta walked out, she expected to see Ken waiting for her in his car, but he wasn't there. He had left her stranded. When Cheta returned home, she found the apartment empty. She called Ken's phone severally, but he didn't answer. 3 days passed before he returned. "Ken, where have you been?" Cheta asked, worry etched on her face. Ken's response was a stinging slap that left her reeling. "Don't you ever ask me that question again, you miserable woman." Cheta's eyes filled with tears as she sat on the floor, clutching her cheek. The man she had once loved was gone, replaced by someone she could not recognize. Ken's behavior grew worse. He started bringing women to their apartment, parading them in front of Cheta. He would order her to serve them food, wash their clothes, and endure their taunts. The final straw came one evening when one of Ken's mistresses looked at Cheta and said, "Why is this miserable witch still living here? She's just occupying space." Without hesitation, Ken barked, She's right. Get out of my house, Cheta. I don't want to see your face here again. Cheta froze, unable to process what she had just heard Ken said. Ken, without hesitation, grabbed her suitcase, stuffed her belongings inside, and threw them out the door. Tears streamed down her face as she packed the rest of her things. As she left, she turned to Ken, hoping for a tiny piece of humanity, but all he said was, "Don't ever come back." That night, as Cheta lay on her bed in her real apartment, she made a decision. She had spent too long loving a man who didn't deserve her. It was time to reclaim her life. The next Monday, she walked back into her company, her head held high. Cheta was done hiding. Now, she was ready to act. The staff at her company were told to see her back. Her absence over the past month had left many wondering if she had quietly retired, but her determined expression and authoritative stride as she walked into the office erased any doubt. They knew the real boss was back. "Madam Cheta," her assistant Grace exclaimed, rushing to greet her. "Welcome back. We've missed you so much." "Thank you, Grace," Cheta replied with a soft smile. "I need you to pack up all of Ken's belongings and leave them by the entrance. Make sure everything is ready by the time I call him in." Grace hesitated. "Mr. Ken, is there a problem, ma?" "There is no need to worry, Grace," Cheta said firmly. "Just do as I've instructed." As Grace and the security team gathered Ken's personal items, Cheta reviewed his performance as the manager. She went through the reports, noting the alarming number of complaints and unapproved expenditures. He had squandered company funds and mistreated junior staffs, many of whom had left the firm in frustration. Cheta's jaw dropped. This wasn't just about her personal anger. Ken's recklessness was jeopardizing the company she had worked so hard to build. By noon, everything was set. Cheta prepared his termination letter and asked Grace to call him. Ken received the message while lounging in the apartment's living room, sipping a glass of wine. "Madam Cheta is at the office and wants to see you," he muttered to himself. "The CEO rarely visits. Maybe I am getting a promotion." Ken's arrogance knew no bound. He wore his favorite suit, brushed his shoes until they were shining, and drove to the office in the company car. When Ken arrived, he walked confidently past the reception, greeting the staffs he often insulted with an exaggerated smile. "Good morning, everyone," he said, ignoring their suspicious glances. At the CEO's office, he paused to adjust his tie, knocking on the door with a self-satisfied smile. Grace opened the door, and Ken stepped inside. His jaw dropped at the sight before him. Cheta was seated behind the desk, her posture commanding an expression cold. A stack of documents and his sack letter lay on the desk. "Cheta, what are you doing here?" he stammered, his confusion evident. "This is my office, Ken," Cheta said calmly, her eyes boring into his. "Or did you really think I was just a lazy housewife?" Ken's confusion turned to panic. "Wait, you are the CEO. This is your company." "Yes," Cheta replied, sliding the termination letter towards him. "And as of today, you are no longer employed here." Ken grabbed the letter, his eyes scanning the words in disbelief. "You can't do this. I've worked so hard for this company." "You have misused the company funds instead, mistreated the staffs, and ruined our reputation," Cheta interrupted. "If I let you stay, it will destroy everything I have built." Ken dropped to his knees. "Cheta, please. I made mistakes. Give me another chance." But Cheta shook her head. "No, Ken. You didn't just betray me as your partner. You betrayed this company and the people who depend on it." "Security!" The guards entered and escorted Ken out, ignoring his pleas. As he was led away, he saw his belongings piled neatly by the entrance and the car keys reclaimed by the security. And he was ordered not to be seen anywhere around the company or its properties, including the house and the car. That evening, Ken returned to his old, dilapidated apartment. The luxury he enjoyed for months was gone. He called every woman he had spent his money on, hoping for help, but none of them answered his calls. As he sat on the cracked mattress, staring at the peeling walls, Cain realized how far he had fallen. For the first time, he admitted to himself that it was his own arrogance and greed that had cost him everything. Meanwhile, Chetta poured her energy back into her company. She visited showrooms, attended trade fairs, and expanded her client base. Within months, the business was thriving again. Her story spread through the industry, and people admired her strength. One of her investors, a charming entrepreneur named David, noticed her hard work and admired her even more. David approached her cautiously, knowing her history. Chetta, I've admired you for a while. Your strength and intelligence are inspiring. Chetta smiled, for the first time, allowing herself to imagine love again. Thank you, David. Let's take things one step at a time. They began dating, and David proved to be everything Ken wasn't. Supportive, humble, and loving. Chetta and David married in a beautiful ceremony, surrounded by family and friends. They welcomed 2 children into their lives, building a home filled with love and respect. As for Ken, his actions had caught up with him. No one in the industry was willing to hire him, and his name became synonymous with betrayal. Chetta's story became a cautionary tale and also a testament to her strength. She learned to prioritize self-respect and never settle for less than she deserved. And in the end, Chetta lived the happy life she had always dreamed of. Thank you so much for watching this story to the end. I'm glad you did. Please like this story and subscribe to my channel for more interesting stories like this one. See you in the next video. Bye.